Welcome to AI Readiness in Learning and Development. My name is Caitlin Bigsby. I'm head of solution marketing here at CYPHER. I've also been an L&D business consultant for 12 years, 12, 15 years, and have worked in the analytics and AI space for the last few years before joining CYPHER. So I hope that my broad background brings a lot of insight into this topic, as well as the research that I've been doing. So this session today is really about getting prepared for AI in L&D and how to manage the various things that you need to get in place in order to be successful with changes like this, changes in technology, changes in approach, what it means to how we deliver learning and development practices and programs. So let's get started. As a surprise to no one, that everybody is racing to get started with AI. 42% of large enterprises have already deployed AI solutions of some kind. 26% of small to mid-market businesses are already invested, and 40% of enterprise, 44% of small to mid-market are planning to start soon. So that means large enterprises aiming to be about 80% are going to be invested in some kind of AI solutions at work, with 65 to 70 of small to mid-market businesses. But there have been problems. This is not always going smoothly. In fact, 60 to 80% of AI projects are not achieving the results that people are hoping to get. It includes limited skill in the organization on using, implementing, rolling out, adopting AI. Ethical concerns that put up barriers to adoption. And the integration and scale of the program sometimes a limited impact because they just can't move beyond a certain barriers in the organization and really have the reach that they need to have the kind of impact people are looking for. Now, HR is really well positioned to have an impact on AI. HR should be behind all big changes and cultural shifts in the organization. And truly 89% of CEOs are seeing this and hoping to see this from their HR teams. They hope to see them bring AI readiness to the organization to bring together the people and the processes. However, on their own front, out of all the business functions, HR ranks dead last in their preparedness and readiness to capitalize on AI. So on the one hand, they're being tasked with preparing the rest of the organization for change, while at the same time, they themselves are not taking advantage of it or in any position to really prepare themselves and their own functions for AI. And then add to that, on this other side, you have 54% of professionals working with AI are very wary of it. And that poses a huge barrier to adoption and success. So there's a whole bunch of expectations over here and readiness over here. And then this third barrier that's sort of all the people that you're working with that you need to get on board. But L&D, as a function of HR, is really well poised to be at the center of this because there are three things that are really critical to laying a foundation for successful adoption of AI, and that is education and preparedness and demonstrating success. The big one is education, and that is demystifying AI and what it means both amongst leadership and users. And that means bringing in educational resources that can help and add clarity. Then there's also the preparedness. I mean, if L&D themselves is in a position to start considering rolling out AI within their own functions, they can also take those lessons learned and roll that out to the broader group to help them create their own strategic roadmaps and prepare their own teams alongside that education. And finally, becoming the face of AI success by showing some tangible wins within L&D by measuring and promoting your own success. So let's talk about the roadmap to AI readiness. I've kind of created these five types of people or types of sort of stakes along the road of readiness to developing and executing an AI strategy. Right at the beginning here, you've got your reluctant explorer. These are people who are either they have a top-down mandate from leadership to really try to work with AI, try to roll it out. This is what everyone's doing. Find your wins, do something. Whereas the person receiving this message is really not totally keen, but knows it's something that has to happen. Or they're just, aware of the shifting winds and figures they may as well, that they can only avoid it for so long. So those are our reluctant explorers. Sort of parallel to the reluctant explorers, maybe a little further ahead, are the explorers themselves who are interested and curious. They have maybe a little less wariness about it, but maybe not a whole lot of education. or familiarity, and are really just kind of looking into the possibilities of adding AI to L&D. They haven't yet done very much, but they know there's some options there and they kind of want to check them out and move a little further. Next down the road, we have the experimenters, who are trying things, integrators who are really folding it in, and the optimizers. So we can look at them a little bit more closely here. So like I said, the reluctant explorer don't really trust or understand L&D. Maybe they're feeling a little strong-armed into exploring it or thinking about it. Big concerns, accuracy of the AI, privacy of their users and their organizational information, and the quality of the output. The explorers, again, curious, but not really ready. They're trying things out, just a little bit here, a little bit there, but don't really have much of a roadmap. Your experimenters are the ones that maybe have some pockets of AI exploration going on, but not really a cohesive strategy, not a long-term vision. And they're still, like all organizations, they're still dealing with pockets of mistrust. Now, integrators have been a little bit more systematic about how they've introduced AI into workflows. It's a little bit more consistent across the organization. They're automating some things, they're operationalizing a few things, and they're really looking for the full integrated solution. And finally, we have optimizers who are at that level. They've got it strategically embedded across HR and the organization, across workflows and teams. People understand it. There's trust. It's been carefully deployed. It's not haphazard. It's been very thoughtfully rolled out. So we've got these kind of five steps. The goal, if you do want to be an AI-powered organization, of course, is to be an optimizer, but it's sort of it's an evolution to get there. But there's no set time at any one of these steps. It just sort of means getting yourself ready and built up and taking the right developmental steps to prepare. So I do have a quick poll if you guys want to let us know where you think that you stand on preparedness, and let us know where you think you are. So let's launch this poll. Are you a reluctant explorer, an explorer, experimenter, integrator, or an optimizer? All right, just if you can pop that question in. All right, we're getting a few answers. This is awesome. Thank you. Okay. Oh, great. We've got a pretty mature group on the line here then. I don't know if people can see, we have a sort of an equal division between explorer, experimenter, and integrator. That's excellent. So I hope everybody can get a little bit out of this and see what else they could be doing to keep moving down that road to the optimizer level. Excellent. Okay, let's shut down this poll. Let's keep on moving. So as with any new technology, there are three pillars of success. That is people, processes, and systems. As I alluded to before, I was a professional consultant for almost 15 years, doing a lot of implementations and change management. And I can tell you that these three pillars are the same now as they were then. If you do not have them working together, then you are going to struggle with any new technology. It doesn't matter how good the technology is, how well designed it is. You need to have all these three pieces working together. So let's talk about refining processes first. When it comes to AI, this means really clarifying how AI is going to help you with and how you will use it. And once you've decided that, then you can sort of think about making decisions that are actually going to have the results that you want. So you have to be really clear about how you're going to use it. And I think that people failing to do this is why you see that a third to a half of respondents of a Gartner poll said that AI tools did not actually have the results that they wanted, probably because they didn't really go in with a clear vision of what they were looking for. So let's talk about refining processes. I've got it kind of laid out on a, sort of like builds on one another, but if you skip steps or do some steps earlier than others, that's fine too. The very first one, when we're talking about AI especially, is let's think about the risks that you need to be aware of when you're introducing AI into L&D. Things like, like bias or, inaccuracy, of course, data privacy, all of those things that are going to make people, either you, if you're one of those AI sort of reluctant people, or just the people around you, nervous about introducing AI into L&D. So assess those risks, really make sure that you understand them and which ones that you need to take into account with any decisions and processes that you implement. Then your next one is think about your use cases. So identifying and ranking the potential use cases, both by their usefulness to the organization, the value that AI can add to them, and the basically acceptable level of risk. There's nothing without risk, but which use cases have will introduce less risk into the organization over others. Now think about what L&D success looks like. How do you need to measure success with these introductions? I come back to this a few times, and actually I did a webinar last month with Alexia on measuring success in learning, and I'm coming back to it here. And the reason for this is that because AI can fundamentally change how we deliver learning and approach learning, it is also going to shift how we measure success in learning. And not, I mean, really, it's going to put it back to the purest elements, which is that success should be measured by business outcomes. And we need to think about how we can actually show that. So define what success looks like for you if you're going to introduce AI into the equation. Give your feedback. Sorry, get feedback on some of the AI experiments. So this is for those groups once you've actually started to roll out some AI into the organization. Start to get some feedback on those experiments. So quantitative and qualitative. So that is how many people have used them and what do they feel about them? What do they like? What impact did they have on feeling at the organization? Okay, evaluate. Look at the big picture to determine if these experiments are worth scaling. So you've got your feedback on your experiments. You're looking at how well they've done, what people think about them. Is it improving people's warm and fuzzies about learning? Is that learning tool? Maybe, I know course participation has spiked because people like it better, or they just, maybe it hasn't gone up, but they're happier about it. Take all that feedback in and decide if those experiments are worth scaling. And what does that look like? What does taking a bigger hit or a bigger expansion of AI across the organization? Now we're getting into this unifying experience. So this is the integrator optimizer phase, where we're going to actually look at a unified goal and a long-term vision, where all these pieces start to come together to build out a more modern learning strategy that has AI infused throughout. If you don't have one already, you absolutely at this point need to have an AI governance model that's specific to L&D. It's very likely your organization, if you're big enough, has an AI governance model already. That's kind of general to the organization. You need to adapt that to your own, to L&D, to make sure that before you go any further, any further along, that your models all have sort of an accountability that is going to be specific to L&D. All your initiatives need to align with these business-focused KPIs, like I mentioned earlier. So defining success down here at the bottom can look like, we're going to create courses faster. We're going to get more people in to the system and liking it a little better. When we're getting further along, they need to be a little broader. Like we're actually going to see better output on our production floor. We're going to see higher value deals being closed. We're going to see lower turnover with our new hires because we have this amazing new AI-powered onboarding solution. All of those things. So those are the KPIs down the road that need to be a little bit more business focused, a little broader. And again, working backwards, making sure that all these big initiatives are aligned with that and are going to accomplish that. And then the final was never final, it's always ongoing. But when you have all these in place is to audit everything that you've done, all your initiatives alongside your business KPIs, and take into account what's working, what's not working, how do we change course? Auditing regularly and often gives you that chance to change course before you go too far the opposite direction. So you can kind of keep refining and improving as you move along. So these are some topics for some AI governance. So I just picked a couple of things here to really look into. But when you're talking about AI governance, particularly in L&D, you've got three major buckets. You've got principles, oversight, and alignment. And principles, obviously top of the list is fairness and bias mitigation. You want to make sure that your tools don't reinforce bias. Remember that AI has been trained on all the data that has come before, and that data is biased. You don't have to look very far to find examples of it, but remember when Amazon tried to roll out their hiring robot, it still managed to reinforce sexism, even though it had weeded out all clear markers of gender. It managed to infer new markers of gender. So you do really need to be mindful of that and where it can show up, and to make sure that you're not reinforcing that. I think transparency is really important for users. People need to understand what is being what is they are using and how it is impacting their journey. That will help them feel more comfortable, help them again feel confident that they are not getting different results from somebody else, that bias isn't impacting them in any way. And if they're getting feedback from the AI, if there's this sort of a back and forth with the AI, they are going to want to understand how that works to again make sure that they are getting the best out of it. And privacy and data protection for learners, but also the organization. So make sure that those are things that are top of mind and that you understand and that are addressed and you have a clear policies around. Now, for oversight over AI, we do recommend a cross-functional accountability committee. So cross-functional means you've got people from HR, L&D, maybe compliance, maybe IT, to just sort of assess all of the solutions and the use cases that you are looking at to make sure that they are aligning to your principles and aligning to the initiatives that you want to go forward with. And have those committees, a committee review of those use cases, solutions, and results. And that committee would also be providing oversight into the auditing of the solutions themselves for any accuracy and unintended consequences. So just some spot checks as you go along to make sure that you're getting the results you expect. And finally, you want to align your AI initiatives to organizational priorities. There's always the risk of going for the flashy thing because it seems really cool, but it doesn't actually really add any value or move your organization further along. And that's where the defined KPIs come in to help you measure success. Really, what are you looking for? What matters to your organization? Alignment also comes in the form of change management. So governance is going to include a real change management program to help people understand and adopt the new solutions, whether they're a part of an existing platform that they already have because you're just turning on a new feature, or whether because you're rolling out net new technology altogether. Next up, we have preparing your people. So people and their readiness for change are the biggest drivers of success. So that I mentioned this stat earlier, and I'm going to mention it again because I think it's really important. 54% of people are wary of AI, and that is a huge chunk of your organization. You have to look across your organization and realize that there's going to be a huge number of people who are going to be resistant. So preparing your people, again, let's put these in 3 buckets. Educating your team. So this is for you as an L&D leader. What do you need to do for your own L&D group, as well as the people in your organization? So as an L&D team, you really need to educate them on the kinds of AI. So some of these are not going to be relevant for each and every one of you because you're at different stages of maturity here. But one of the things I've observed, like I said, I've been in AI and analytics for a few years now too, is that ChatGPT is just one kind of AI. That's a Gen AI. I think it's the one we're most familiar with because it's certainly the one that's had having its moment in the sun. In fact, there are different kinds of AI. And people should really be able to understand that so they can spot where it is, where it sits, and what it can possibly do in their solution. Which brings me to what can and can't it do for HR in general or L&D in particular. Because again, it sort of feels like magic. People are so like, oh my gosh, I can write a whole song in the voice of Bob Dylan, but it's about, I don't know, something like Slurpees. Like you can do anything ridiculous, crazy. People think it's this incredibly intelligent tool, and it's got its limits. So it's really important to understand what it can and cannot do. Understand how it could be applied to L&D. Again, this is for the learning and development team to really understand how it can actually be used and be useful. And then all of this gives you that foundation to identify the use cases that will work for you and add more value and tell them apart from those ones that are mostly flash or just aren't terribly useful. Now let's look at setting policies. So you need to prepare your people, and like this will feel like it's sort of overlap with the processes, and some of these are because they never really act in isolation. But identifying safeguards is also as much about keeping your actual initiatives from going off the rails as it is helping your people feel confident that things aren't going to go off the rails. So creating a really transparent safeguards that are like open and out there is as much about preparing people as anything else. So that will increase their confidence. Then you want to align your organizational policies for acceptable use with your own goals. So all that education and all those things you wanted to do, you can make sure, again, preparing people, making feel comfortable that you're going forward, that everything is above board, everything is in alignment with the broader organizational approach. And you want to evaluate all of your AI initiatives against your policies. And finally, managing change. This is about educating your users. So at the beginning, we're educating your team. Now we're educating users about that AI that you are rolling out. You want to be really transparent. You want to have proactive communications. You want people to understand the tools that you're giving them, how they work, how they're going to help them, what they're going to add to their world, how they're going to make their life easier. So really communicate that, the benefits, how it works, how their data is safe, how it's going to help them. All of that really clear information is incredibly important. And then the big one, choosing the technologies. Ironically, AI has made, we tout it as something that's going to make business easier, going to make the applications easier, but it's making decision-making about technology harder. This is a stat from Gartner saying that 70% of the respondents say that it is making it so much more difficult to evaluate technology because they have to both evaluate the benefit of the new technology as well as the risk introduced by the introduction of AI. So I've got just a few examples here of what to look for, questions to ask. And I think these are things both for if you're evaluating a new technology, but also for your current technology provider. It'll be it's important to see, what you currently have available to you today. And if you need to evaluate something else, or if you are in the process of evaluating something else, these are things to keep in mind. So you want to talk about the degree of integration of AI. Some solutions, of course, have been on the market for ages. And so they've been trying to inject AI in varying levels, and they're doing it to varying degrees of integration. The more integrated AI is into the solution, the more the provider can do with it. The more flexible they can be, the more places they can kind of inject it. And it will also often means it has been developed with some kind of vision in mind, some foresight in mind. So when you are evaluating a technology and you're looking for the degree of integration, you're going to want to be looking for, first of all, the seamlessness of the experience. Does it feel like it's sort of layered over top, or does it feel like it's really in place? You're going to want to know what happens to the data. I will say, I don't think there's a single L&D provider out there that has actually made their own AI model. Every one of them is using a third-party AI model. It's how they're leveraging it, how they're bringing that into the system, and how that transaction goes and how the data moves. So you want to ask those questions just so you can feel confident. Again, where does your data live? Is it yours alone? Does it train the system? Which AI systems are they using to power their solution? Are you locked into that? Are they locked into that? All of those questions, or do they have the flexibility to shift and choose different models as things change and evolve? Next, of course, you're going to want to know, what does it actually do? The AI that has had the biggest impact the last few years is generative AI, and that is AI that creates new things. And for a lot of solutions, that's kind of the extent of what they've done. They've had AI that has generated a bunch of words. So you want to dig in and see what it can do beyond that. Does the AI have any capabilities to streamline workflow, add value? Is it improving the user interface so that the words and the information that's being corrected or provided add more value without the users having to do more? How accurate is what being generated? I mean, if you go and said, if you put something into ChatGPT, it will be reasonably okay, but it will, if you want to double check that with another AI, you're gonna have to pick it up and take it out and put it into another AI and double check that. So you want to see, what have they put into their AI solutions that sort of elevate it beyond just generative AI? And you really also want to see, what is it doing within the system? What back and forth is there with the system? How, like I said, how plugged into the workflows within the system is it? Where can the user access it? What is it feeding back to the solution? What is it taking out of the solution to inform its answers and its responses? So you want to look for the question you want to ask, like, what's automated? What control or opportunities to review do a user have? How confident can you be in those outcomes? Then you really want to understand the vision. This is such a quickly evolving market. and technology, that having a really clear sense of where things are going and where the vendor plans to go, and is the vendor preparing the technology and the platform that they are building to take them there? And does their vision align with what you want to do? You've spent this time in the processes part of things, really identifying your goals and your own vision for an integrated offering. You need to make sure that you have a vendor that's going to meet you there and be able to align with that. Um, does the vendor anticipate changes in the technology? Are they ready to respond to them? How quickly do they respond to change? So ask questions like, what of the vision that the vendor has, what value does that hold for you? Can you see that value? And ask the vendor how they prioritize what to add to their vision list. And I'm going to add one more here too. If you were talking to a vendor who has a vision and you maybe don't entirely understand the value of what they're adding, take a moment to, just like ask them, what value do you see here? Are you doing this because you can and you think it's interesting? Or like, tell me how this fits into the broader vision of education and development and upskilling at corporate environments or training environments or schools or wherever you are. But really push them to ask for the value of what they're doing. So I'm going to talk. I said I guess my background in analytics and data, and as well as learning and development. I'm very, very passionate about aligning everything you do with business drivers and trying to measure that success. So let's talk a little bit about how you can align AI initiatives with the business drivers, so that you can get a little bit more clear about where and when to pursue AI. So let's talk about productivity. If the business driver is getting more productive, so the organization that, you go up to the C-suite, that's what they care about is increasing productivity. They want to get their new hires operating faster, or maybe a certain group in the organization producing more. What that means for learning is things like improving onboarding, so people are ready to produce a little bit faster, or getting a certain team on the floor educated on a new process that's more efficient, or enabling people a little bit faster. So you've got your business KPI, and then you have the impact on L&D. Then we have sometimes a business concern is becoming more agile. I mean, we all know the world is, things change so quickly, from global relationships to trades to whatever. Organizations need to be able to respond really quickly. They really need to be able to switch gears very fast. So what does that mean for L&D? That makes basically getting new courses available quickly, or new training. If you have a reorganization, you're going to have to get new people on board to new things faster. You're going to have to familiarize people with how things work. You've got to be fast. Maybe you're opening into a new global market, or you're building a new product. You have to be ready really quickly to prepare your people. If retention is a goal, and I know sometimes it seems like when the market's not that great, that you can be slack about retention, but in fact, good people are always at risk of leaving. And they are the most people that you really need the most when the economy is tough, are your good people. So keeping top talent is always a priority. And you want them to remain productive and resilient. You also want them to be satisfied. So that means giving them the tools that they need to do their job, to feel like they're supported at work, from education, so they can get the information they need when they need it. They also want to feel like they have a future and that they can continue to grow in their role. So that's the impact on learning, is making sure that they are enabled to do what they need to do and that they feel supported in their job growth. Finally, up or reskilling, this sort of aligns with some of the other ones. This is career growth. This is being agile. This is responding quickly to organizational changes. And this is also recognizing that sometimes the business might need a new skill and they simply cannot hire for that skill fast enough, or they can't hire for that skill while still getting some of the other background skills that the people that work for you already have. So that means keeping your skills list current, so you know what people have and how to train them against it, and offer learning that aligns to it. So we say every business goal has a corresponding L&D goal. So let's tie those learning goals to use cases. I haven't done that for all of these, but I picked a handful of them so that we can look at them and sort of give you an idea of how to tie that KPI through to learning through to different use cases. So improved onboarding looks like, keeping your onboarding courses up to date. Those are so easy to sort of set and forget and not realize things have changed. And then you have new hires coming on board who go through the new hire courses and it feels really out of date and nothing's where that says it's supposed to be. And they just, they can't reference things. Um, Making learning more engaging. A lot of new hire training can be incredibly boring, which again, just sort of slows down that readiness to jump into productivity. Um, Personalizing learning, not everybody's going to have to take the same thing. Personalizing learning can also mean that allowing department heads or business leaders to create some of their own training. So it's really, really relevant for those people coming on board and isn't some generic overall organizational training. Improving retention so that what people take, they actually, remember and can apply at work, but also supporting follow-up inquiries. We all know the first couple of weeks in a new job is like drinking from the fire hose. How can L&D make it so that it's really easy for those people to come back and recover things that they kind of remembered hearing about, but they didn't totally remember the answer and they need it right now? Those are all things that L&D can do to improve onboarding. So what does that look like from an AI use case list? Automated course creation that leverages internal documents. So those things that you're maintaining anyway, like process, policies, procedures, turn those into courses really quickly. So then you're only updating it in one place and turning that into a course. Adding gamification elements to help make it more engaging, help people have a little bit more fun as they go all the way through, introduce rewards or check-ins by the manager. AI agents that help managers and SMEs to mentors to create courses so that personalized relevancy at the lower level. Personal learning agents to ask questions about content or topics to present. Generating assessments to improve that retention. I mention this every time we talk about it. I hated creating tests and quizzes when I was doing this kind of work. It was my least favorite thing to do. So I didn't do as many maybe as I could have, but when it's generated, you can start to insert small ones throughout and it's not nearly the same lift. And then agents that source the query, the original material, so that the learner can just ask those questions. Maybe I'm 3 weeks into a job and I have a question about a process that I learned in week 1. Just really being able to ask it really quickly will help them stay, keep moving without a loss of time, without having to track somebody down, ask those questions of help make them feel a little bit more in control. So another one, more responsive course deliveries, ways you can improve it. So this is for responding to change, responding to course delivery, to reskilling, upskilling, changing skills needs. Turning around courses more quickly, supporting user-initiated learning, and increasing awareness of new and existing courses. I do see a couple of questions in the Q&A. Pardon me, I will get to them at the end. So just give me a sec, I will get there. All right, so ways you can make your course delivery more responsive with AI. That is things, again, automated course creation on any topic. I think we have this idea that we need to be experts on something to create a course, and maybe we can actually source them and create them quickly when there's a new initiative. So, if leadership says they want everybody to be a little bit more data-driven, we can quickly turn around some courses that give some basics of using data analysis at work, using some course creation agents. Using personal learner agents for those topics that your courses don't cover. So what I mean by that is you as an L&D organization can really only have so many courses in your catalog. So yes, it's great to have a lot of the courses that your organization needs. It's great to have that control, but there will always be topics that you just don't cover, either because you don't know to cover them, because something is happening kind of off to the side in a small group, or because you haven't got there yet, or because the change is just so rapid and people want that information right now. So being able to give learners access to get sort of generate their own learning is really, really valuable and helps people continue to be responsive. Smart course recommendations to make sure people are aware of those courses that you create. It's another way that AI can really help. And then skills aligned learning. This is another use case. So you want to keep your learning catalog aligned to skills of the organization. So again, so your leadership kind of knows who has the skills or has the confidence that skills are being developed in-house. You're going to want to keep up-to-date skills lists. And the skills needed today are different than the skills needed even last year or the year before. And if you were to define a new role today or an existing role and add the skills to it, it could look very different than when you did it 2 years ago. So you need to keep up-to-date skills lists. You, of course, need content mapped to skills. You need to make sure that the courses you're creating with the intent of addressing those skills is actually doing that. You want learners to be able to work on skills even when there isn't a course available, or if they want to build on it a little bit more or come at it from a different way. And whereas learners want to know where they are in their skill development, they want a little bit of, I think I have some experience here, but how much more do I need to learn? How far along am I? And actually, another one I don't have on here is, how can a learner now apply the skill that they've learned to work? So if we map these things to AI, you're going to have new skills lists. AI can generate skills lists much faster than we can. And because it's much more responsive, I know I work with a lot of organizations that felt this need to have a master skills list that was very fixed. We can't operate like that anymore. Things are just too quick. You're going to need to kind of respond pretty quickly and accept that they're just going to continue to evolve. So you're going to want to capture the skills that are current today. AI can help with skills mapping, which I think is one of the most tedious parts of skills-based learning, is mapping the skills to the course content, and AI can help with that. They can see those two things and make the connection. And you can go beyond just having a skill at the course level. You can also have a skill at sort of parts within the course. So, somebody can go through a course that covers maybe 10 different skills and really do really well at 5 of them and a little less well at some of the other ones. So you can get a lot more granular if you want to. AI can infer which skills a course is covering and map it to the content. It can actually review the content and suggest additions to make sure that that course is properly teaching to that skill. Get personal learning that generated about a particular skill, and as well as interactive skills assessment and coaching. So where the AI is asks the learner questions or pushes them on where they are for answers and then suggests where they can go, gives them coaching suggestions for what they can do to apply that skill at work. So I promised you a 30, 60, 90-day plan for advancing your AI roadmap. So I have it here. Now, I've got one for sort of each of those 5 signposts that I talked about. So for the reluctant explorer, if you are just starting out and it's against your will, you're not super enthusiastic about it, then I want you to spend your first 30 days really launching an AI literacy initiative for yourself and for the people around you, so you can really understand what AI can and cannot do. And you feel a bit more confident talking about it, making decisions about it, and clarifying your presumed risks from your actual risks, which is what you're going to be doing at the 60-day mark, is those risks. And then also identifying the safeguards. What would it take to make you feel confident moving forward with AI? And then at the 90-day point, just review what you have already and see how it aligns against your risk assessment. How confident are you with any of those? And if you are, great, consider beyond this, consider what you can do to move forward. If you're not, then consider if there's an opportunity to evaluate some other solutions. Explorers, again, you're also, I'm assuming, sort of early on in the stage. So I'm going to recommend, again, doing that AI literacy initiative. Get really comfortable with what AI is and isn't, how it works, how very much not magic it is. It's powerful, yes, I'm not going to downplay that, but it is not magic. So you can spend some time understanding how it works. In the 60-day mark, I'd look for some use cases and rank them according to the impact that they're going to have on your business. And what does success look like? I mean, if it's having an impact, then obviously there's some success to be measured there. And at 90 days, think about which of your top 1 or 2 use cases you can introduce, assuming that it's supported by your current technology. If you're an experimenter, you're going to want to look where you can improve AI use. So this is assuming you already have some AI in place. How is that going, and where can you improve? Get your current baseline metrics at about 60 days. So that is like, how are things performing now? The one that you can only measure success if you kind of know where you've been. Measuring where you are doesn't help if you don't know where you've been. So get your baselines. And I would also suggest talking to some analysts to get their insight into the future of AI and L&D. They get a really broad perspective of what's happening in the market. That's what they live and breathe for. So it can be money well spent. If you don't have the money, there are some that do some free webinars. I think Red Thread Research, part of me, does really, really good webinars. Some of it is membership only, but some of it is available to the public. So see where they're going, and what they have to say. And at 90 days, using your primary focus, that is the thing that you are most interested about improving, and identify a couple new initiatives that align with that and are supported by the technology that you have. The integrators, we want to start aligning the AI use in L&D with your business KPIs. So that kind of means working backwards like I just did. So start with your business KPI, what this means for learning, what this means practically within learning, and then how AI can support that. So it's a little more of a matrix. It's very rarely, retention is our KPI. So that means we're doing this AI initiative. You have to pull the thread all the way through. At 60 days, I'd like to look at your future goals and for learning, again, that's supporting those business KPIs, and if and how AI can support them. I want to take this moment to say that AI is not the answer to everything. As my granddad used to say, just because you have a hammer doesn't mean everything is a nail. So sometimes there are other solutions out there, and they're just as good, if not better. They're the right things. But if AI is a possible solution, look at those and clarify that. And then again, evaluate your solutions and see if they can support those goals. The optimizers, this is the people who have kind of got it all figured out. Doesn't mean there isn't more to do. So again, start measuring your success with AI with concrete numbers. Start really proving success. And I come back to this all the time because I really feel that measuring success is obviously important, but I think it's really important for the future of L&D and your ability to get the buy-in to do more of what you need to do. And I sometimes feel like L&D is a little hampered in proving how successful they've been. So I like to come back to it because I think it's so important. So really start measuring success, audit everything you've done to date, and make those decisions about what should evolve, what should continue, what needs to stop maybe. And at the 90 days mark, if you haven't already, start to explore analytics, not just basic measures, but there is this is the other thing. It's not maybe pure AI, but prescriptive and predictive analytics is another area that L&D can benefit from, and it's something that should be explored. It's not likely, I don't think any L&D platform can really do prescriptive or predictive analytics, but it is something you can work with your analytics team if you have one, and see what you can do with the data that you have. So those are all things to explore. So I've got a few resources that I'm going to share out. I've got a link here to the pro tip session that I did with Alexia last week about measuring learning success, which I think is really helpful. I will be making available a list of the different kinds of AIs, just I think 1 or 2 pages, quick cheat sheet of different kinds of AI and how they can manifest in L&D. It's not ready just yet, but we will have an AI roadmap quiz based on this presentation that will tell you where you are and give you a little bit more information about what to do next. And we'll get that out there as soon as it's ready. One of my teammates was out unexpectedly this week, so we're not quite ready. All right, let me take a look at the questions that we have. How do we use AI in our platform, and does the concept of an AI agent exist during task execution by the student rather than by a teacher? So we use AI. CYPHER has what we call CYPHER Agent. CYPHER Agent is throughout the solution, and it is designed to help both multiple personas, so course creators, administrators, learners, and eventually we'll be expanding it to more personas like managers and instructors, and we will be expanding the application of uses to learners and administrators as it is. So for task execution right now, it is primarily the task it is executing is the course creation process. So for learners, the agent is providing learning support, responding to queries, doing some interactive conversations, and closing skill gaps. It will continue to evolve and execute more tasks for the learner. And that's how we have set it up. So the question is, the follow-up is, when completing a task, the student first consults with an AI agent, not immediately the teacher. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Of course, it will depend on what the task is, whether the agent can help with that, or the agent, but yeah, or the instructor. But yes, the agent is in place to, we will be adding one to the course at the course level that will serve both the instructor and the learner. And it will be able to help with some real course-based initiatives more completely. And the follow-up question, does the agent support personalized learning and other AI-driven capabilities? Yes, it does. CYPHER Agent for learners allows learners to ask questions about learning and get personalized response. It allows them to find a skill, click Learn with AI, and close that skill. It allows learners to get personalized learning from proprietary resources that are in the system. Pardon me. So there's a number of different ways that it is personalized. So the next question, can personalized learning be implemented in your platform by assigning a variety of different tasks for the same subject with the same classroom? Not sure I'm clear on that, but the agent, as I said, is prepared to respond to different people. It's context aware, is persona aware, and it is embedded in different places. So if you want to learn more about that, we can make sure you get some links to some demos, or you can ask to see it. We're always happy to show off what our learner agent can do. But for this, I said this was a general approach for adopting AI in L&D. I know it's an overwhelming topic, and I hope you found this helpful. So we will have a follow-up asset with our roadmap quiz. So I do hope you check that out. We'll get you the link out as soon as it's available. And this recording is also available. Will be posted to our CYPHER Pro Tips page or the CYPHER Learning YouTube channel. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your participation on the quiz, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.